Hey there, Squirrel Army. Are you going to answer the call of the call for backup to upgrade this? This is the Naya precon deck from March of the Machines. Alright, so we're calling for backup and hopefully we can make this deck really cool. I think the command is pretty interesting, and the best way, of course, to do any of these deck upgrade guides is to check out the face commander to see what the face commander's up to sort of get a general idea of what the deck's doing, analyze him, and then we can figure out kind of what we want, kind of what we don't want, kind of how to build around that. Alright, so Bright Palm Soul Awakener. This is an interesting one. It's a bit weird, like the backup ability. I don't understand how the backup ability kind of works. So when it enters the battlefield, you can put a +1/+1 counter on this creature or another creature, and that creature gains this ability. That's what it says. So how does that work? I don't understand. Like, does it gain the abilities of this card? It's not worded very well. I don't understand. Like, you can look it up if you want to. It's just a really badly worded thing. That, or if it says when it enters, but it's already on the field. So I don't understand. It's what? It's so weird. I don't understand. But whenever this creature attacks, you double the number of +1/+1 counters on a target creature. That creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less this turn. So we do have some attack. Well, we do have one attack doubling thing in these colors. So we could get double +1 counters on something. We could go down a +1 counters route. Things that are 2 or less can't block. Well, that's pretty irrelevant for the most part. But then again, it can be somewhat relevant if we don't have trample. So we can just get stonewalled sometimes if people have a lot of stuff. But that doesn't happen a whole lot. And people might do that, but still, it won't really be that bad, I think. So we do probably want to put those counters on an evasive creature. That, or we want to give this guy the evasion. Now, again, I think with the backup ability, it's only if you give it to another creature that it gains the abilities. I don't understand how it really works. It's just such a weirdly worded ability, and I think we're going to have to wait till they actually explain how it actually works. But whatever. I think this thing getting into combat seems incredibly bad without evasion. So that's where I'm starting to be like, is this a Voltron commander? Because we can make it a Voltron commander. Not that that's my thing to do, but I know that that's kind of in the wheelhouse of these colors. So we could go down somewhat of a Voltron route with this. There might be a Voltron theme in this deck. I'm not too sure. I haven't looked at all the cards. I have to look at all the cards in a second. But anyway, what route are we going down? Why are we going down this route or not this route? How is the easiest way for us to win? And yeah, our commander is a pretty easy way to win in a sense, but either it's so easy, it's ridiculously easy. That's what I always find with Voltron commanders. Either you just completely stone run everyone, you just absolutely blitz everyone out of the game and the game's over in a few minutes, or you just sit there and go, cool, I'm out of the game for the rest of the game because everyone hates on me because, well, I'm just going to end the game in 3 seconds. Which is fair enough, so it's one of those things. Either you completely steamroller everyone or you just sit there going, cool, I can't do anything. So I don't want us to be 1000% Voltron, because I always find that Voltron decks just kind of either completely steamroller everyone or just never do anything because you get hated out of the game. So I want to find a happy medium. Um, but this is just one target creature, so, and it doesn't really do a whole lot of anything else, just one counter. We can get more counters, of course, but still, not being able to be blocked by something 2 or less, that's very irrelevant. So we really need evasion. We really need like flying and trample, those sorts of things. We can get them with things that care about +1 counters, or we can just get them generically or whatnot. So, like, I'd rather lean into the +1 counters as well. But that's the route that I'm starting to look at with this commander. So yeah, let's go ahead, check out the deck list and see what we can find. Alright, so here is the deck list. You can find this deck list just by searching it up. It has... Alright, upon reading through the deck and most of the cards here, I've decided that we're not going to go with the face commander for this deck, because I feel like, as I was saying, that commander feels very Voltron-y, and the rest of the list that is here does not support a Voltron strategy at all, really. So I would have to change like 90% of the deck to make it a Voltron deck. So trying to do that and trying to do that simply is just not going to happen. So I would rather just say, let's go with the other commander. It's Solari and Huldar. A nice partner pairing. So, Flying and Vigilance 3/3, you put a counter on a creature, it deals that much damage to target opponent. Now, target opponent, it's a bit weaker, and that, but still, that's more interesting, I think. It has more to do with what the rest of the deck is doing rather than we're gonna try to take this deck in a completely different direction, in a Voltron direction. So I'm just building with this in mind for the rest of the cards from now on. You can join the Screw Army by subscribing. Alright, so now we're having a look at the completely finished list. And again, every time that I have to do these now, I have to put in the caveats of saying, if you don't care about listening and watching the rest of the video and whatnot, and you just want to check out what the list is, what I've done to it, you can check it out. It's in the description, in the comments there, somewhere down below. You can find it, copy, paste, do whatever you want to do with it. Have a look at that list and see what I've done to the deck. Otherwise, I will get along with doing the rest of, or explaining the rest of the deck to those people who do want to listen. I know some people don't really want to listen, so that's all cool, but I know some people are less enfranchised as some people. I don't know whether that's the right word, but they are have less of a base in the game, so they just want to see what, like, all the cards are all about, what the cuts are and why they've been cut and things like that. So let's get on with it. Like I said, we have 96 cards. 4 of the cards are the new cards, like I said. But again, those cards won't appear on the list properly because they're new cards and they just won't appear for freaking forever. So just have to live with that for now. And the price is probably a bit off due to the fact that probably none of those new cards are in, and the prices for new cards are in flux, as they always are, because for a long time people really don't know what they do, and until people work out all the things that they do or don't do or whatever, they're always going to have prices in flux until... and then again, as well, it's one of those things that sometimes somebody will find a new card that suddenly, oh, it makes this card really dumb. So, it's always the way, but whatever. It is what it is. Now, I did, as I said, splurge a bit on the budget. So it's not the most budget list, but it is a pretty decent list. So yeah, the lands. Now it's just a whole bunch more basics, basically. So I'm not going to go through much there. I think the only ETB tap land that I kept was Path of Ancestry because I looked at the list and I was like, okay, there's enough humans or there's enough of one or another type in here that I do feel like, you'll get enough value out of it to actually put it in there and it'll be decent. So that's fine. I'm going to quickly talk about the cards that are in the out pile or what I took out. Um, and I'm going to basically say that all of these cards just didn't make the cut. I think there might be one or two that are okay, but a lot of these cards just weren't good enough or whatnot for what we're doing. Or they're just not what we need for the most part. Like Arcane Signet, we just don't need it. We're in green. We do not need this at all. So there's no point in us running it. Armorcraft Judge, just one off. If we were a flicker deck, cool. Yes, it can draw us a few cards, but again, one off card draw I don't want. I want consistent card draw. So no. Brawn, Trample is nice, but we don't have that many ways to discard it, and just like playing it for 4, it's nothing on our battlefield. It doesn't really do anything for us. So just no. Command Sphere, we're not in we're in green, so we don't need it. Cultivate, again, we can just find better ramp than this. Oh, this is one of the few cards that's actually from this new lot of cards that's actually here. But again, it just doesn't do a whole lot. Just it has double strike and it can give something else double strike and a counter. So that's not that, or at least for a turn, the double strike at least. But yeah, this is not amazing. Dramoka's command, like the commands, they all have different abilities, and like perhaps my assessment of being able to fight isn't that high. So maybe if you're in a fight deck, yeah, it's really useful. But in this deck, it's just not that useful. Couple of counters on something's not too bad, but again, just it doesn't amount to a whole lot of enough for me. So I just no, don't run it. Flame Lash, not too bad to make token copies of stuff, but I just didn't feel like it was really doing what we were wanting to do. Plus, there's just lots of better ones that you could add if you really wanted to. Yes, it does have haste, but still, for 4 or whatever. But yeah, Flame Shadow, same sort of thing. We're not really making tokens, so that's not really worth our time to game plan. Power Stone, we're in green. We don't need this here at all. Heaven and Earth, it's a bad kill all flyers and then kill all non-flyers. So, I don't think we honestly need that. Like, maybe we do need to deal with flyers to a degree, but honestly, if we need to deal with flyers, we could just play Whirlwind and literally just kill all flyers. So, we don't need to, like, try to have this weird mana sink in our deck that we don't really need for no real reason. The Sentinels, I just feel like it doesn't do a whole lot of enough of stuff, and it doesn't help the rest of our board state, or it doesn't help the rest of our deck do anything more. It helps itself, but that's about it. The Inscription, same sort of thing as the Dramoka's command. It has a whole bunch of modes, but I don't think most of those modes amount to a whole lot of anything. So, plus you've got to kicker it to actually get more modes and whatnot, so just no. Kadama's Reach, again, we can just do better, get better ramp than this. Cranko, like, the one thing is it does get counters, and if we are putting lots of counters on it, it does get really big really quick, so we can make lots of goblins with it, but we're not a token deck. Like, and what are those goblins really going to do for us? Like, if we had Cathar's Crusade, that wouldn't be too bad, but even so, I just don't think it works well with what we're actually trying to do. So I just decided, no, we're not gonna have it. Managorger Hydra can grow really big and it does have trample, but it just doesn't have any additional text, which is the problem with it. It doesn't really do enough for us, so just no. The Automaton, it's funny when we can keep getting counters on it and stuff and discarding cards and drawing cards and whatnot. There is some ways to combo with it, kind of, and things like that out there, but I just don't think it's worth the hoops that you've got to go through. It's just too much mana investment normally. If you're not able to combo with it, it just costs you too much. So yeah, I don't think it's really worth it. The cat, like giving trample to our stuff isn't too bad, but honestly, we can just get better cards that do it and do more as well. Resto, like, we're not in a blink deck. There are a couple things that care about ETBs here and there, but like, it's not really doing a whole lot for us, so I just... Triskelion, I know you can combo with this and whatnot, but again, the deck really isn't focused on that, so it's going to be really hard to combo with this. You'd really have to build right around it, so I just don't see us doing that. It's just not really worth our time because, I don't know, it'll just take too much out of the deck. Plus, that's really a more higher competitive thing if you really want to do it. So I would rather us just find more synergies that actually do more stuff for us in general rather than just a card that could combo off. So yeah. But Wood Elves, last one, just gets a land from our library into play untapped. That's a forest. But again, we can just find better ramp. And whatnot. So just no, or that or more synergistic stuff. Couple of board wipes that I added. The Damning Verdict destroys everything that doesn't have a counter on it. Most of our stuff's going to have counters on it, so that's pretty good. And Vanquish the Horde because it's 2 mana most of the time. And if we're paying 2 mana and we happen to get caught up in it, well, at least we have the rest of our mana to try to play with and do more stuff with. I only added one artifact to the list, which was the Bestiary. Scry's one at the beginning of the upkeep, which I always tend to forget, but whatever. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you pay a green and draw a card, which is pretty darn good. So, yeah, good card draw. That's nice for us. We need that. Alright, all will be one as far as the first enchantment. So it does a lot of the same things whenever we put counters on opponent. It deals that much damage to target opponent or a creature an opponent controls. So yeah, that's what am I doing? So that's not too bad. We can shoot our opponent's creatures sometimes, but not that amazing, honestly, to do that. But it can help us out in certain circumstances, especially if we can put counters on stuff at instant speed, so it's not too bad. Garrick's Uprising, we draw cards for creatures power 4 greater. Yeah, not all our creatures are power 4 greater, but a few of them are, so that's okay. Giving our stuff trample, pretty good. And again, when we play it, if we have anything with power 4 greater, we draw cards, so it can immediately replace itself. So it's not too bad. Hardened Scales, just getting additional counters is really strong. So I think it's well worth it. It's not 100% budget, but still pretty darn good. Jugan, I do like this card. I don't think it's honestly the best, but I was kind of running out of kind of good-ish budget options here because I wanted to keep it to some kind of a budget. I didn't want to go too ham. But it is pretty darn good once it gets onto its other side and you can start putting counters on stuff. Like, you do have to pay mana for it, but still, that isn't that bad. And eventually you just get enough stuff and everything has 5/5 and trample. So, oh no, it gets 5/5 and trample, but it still gives you everything a buff, so not too bad. Master Chef, nice little budget card. Only works when our commander's out, but still, there's not a whole lot of really good options, unfortunately, sometimes. I think there's a couple other ones, but not very many, honestly. So, but that's fine. Rhythm of the Wild, again, more of that we can't be counted and whatnot is good because we don't want to be counted, and just giving our stuff right is good. So I think that's well worth it. Sagada Summons, we need to change what we're doing in terms of damage and output. So just making all of our stuff based 4/4 flyers is just going to change the game so much for us that it's just going to be insane. Augur of Autumn, one of the first cards here for the creatures. You look at the top card, you can play the top card if it's a land, and if you have 3 or more different powers among creatures we control, we can cast creature spells, which isn't very hard at all. So it's a really great card, really good card advantage, well worth it. Beast Whisperer, just more card draw and card advantage. I was surprised that Defiler of Vigor was only like $5. So I thought this has got to go in here. We can pay green mana as 2 life, or in other words, as Phyrexian life, essentially. So that's pretty darn powerful. And whenever we cast a green permanent, we can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. So that really buffs up our stuff really fast. So that's super strong. I was surprised that Evolution Sage wasn't in this list. I was like 1,000% sure it would be in the list, but it wasn't. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll put that in there because getting landfall to proliferate is pretty darn good. Grunt Gully, yeah, I said this before when I said like the number of types that we have in the list is mostly humans, but again, we do have a lot of non-humans as well, so it can put a lot of counters on a lot of our other stuff as well. So I still think it's well worth it, and can do some good stuff. So that's pretty good. Anna and Elena, getting counters on our combat is probably where we want it mostly for the most part because that means it'll do the counters thing this turn when we play it. It'll do it as long as we're in our first main phase, obviously. But again, it's one of those things. It essentially did its ability already at least once, so we've got its ability out once. So it means that we've gotten value out of it, at least hopefully, right away, rather than, oh, we've got to wait till our upkeep, so we've got to wait through 3 other people's full turns to get anything out of it. So I do think that it is quite good and whatnot. And plus it can give haste to whatever it puts counters on. So that's really good. So yeah. The Kami of Whispered Hopes, this new card that I already talked about. I don't think I need to explain how good this is, but it is really good. If you want to know more, you can check out the video that I did do on it as well. But getting additional counters and tapping for mana where X is its power is just real good. Catilda, like, again, we do have a few humans in the deck. I just like saying that. So it can tap itself and it can help us tap some of our other stuff. But it also buffs up all of our stuff. So that's really good. So yeah. Kadama, or the small Kadama, as I think he'll become known soon. All of our stuff that has counters, essentially, because we don't have any auras or equipment for the most part, has trample. Whenever something with a counter on it deals combat damage to a player, we search our library for a basic land, put it into the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So it helps us buff our stuff with trample, and it has reach, which no one remembers again. And plus, it helps us ramp. So that's a lot of really good things that we really want. Lizelle, additional counters is something we really, really want. So again, just this kind of thing is super powerful. Loyal Guardian. Again, it doesn't work unless we have our commander, but still, we're playing commander, so we have pretty good access to get our commander most of the time. And again, getting those counters essentially as soon as, or almost as soon as you've played it, is definitely the thing you want. You don't want these things that happen at your upkeep or whatever, because you're not often going to get there. If you get it at combat, at least you probably will get it. Not always, but you often get it. Like, I don't love Macias, but yeah, he's here. But whatever. Oran Reef, it's so cheap that it doesn't matter if you don't get the other part off. But the ETB is decent enough. Putting counters on stuff, it's not the best, but still, that's enough to warrant it being in the deck. Plus, if you do untap with it, it's pretty darn good. It's basically a Colonian Hydra, but smaller, and only does it for things that already have counters, but still, it's pretty darn good. Sakura Tribe, we just need more ramp in this deck. Shalai protects us, protects our stuff, buffs up our stuff, so does a whole lot of stuff that we really want to do. The Reju, I'm not sure about it, but we have a lot of stuff that has counters, and it can deal a whole lot of damage to our opponents, so I thought that works well. And it does have haste, so it can do that right away, which again is a problem with a lot of other cards, that they don't do a whole lot right away sometimes. But sometimes when they have such a big effect, you're willing to put that off, or whether they're so efficient that that's fine. So still okay. But yeah, definitely good, I think, for this strategy, because we're already dealing damage and doing counter stuff, so I think it's on theme. Vigor, it just protects our stuff from dying in combat and gives them counters. So that's really strong for this type of deck. So that is the list here. And I think it's pretty decent. I hope it's pretty decent at least. But yeah, you guys can always let me know what you think of this deck list. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. And as I say, hope you will join me again in the next one.